Misunderstandings. He had uncombed hair, dirty clothes, and only 35 cents in his pocket. In Baltimore, Maryland, he got on a bus and headed straight for the restroom. He thought that if he hid in the restroom, he could ride to New York without paying. But a passenger at the back of the bus saw him. She tapped the person in front of her on the shoulder and said, "There's a bum in the restroom. Tell the bus driver." That passenger tapped the person sitting in front of him. "Tell the bus driver there's a bum in the restroom," he said. The message was passed from person to person until it reached the front of the bus. But somewhere along the way, the message changed. By the time it reached the bus driver, it was not, "There's a bum in the restroom," but "There's a bomb in the restroom." The driver immediately pulled over to the side of the highway and radioed the police. When the police arrived, they told the passengers to get off the bus and stay far away. Then they closed the highway. That soon caused a 15-mile-long traffic jam. With the help of a dog, the police searched the bus for 2 hours. Of course, they found no bomb. Two similar-sounding English words also caused trouble for a man who wanted to fly from Los Angeles to Oakland, California. His problems began at the Los Angeles airport. He thought he heard his flight announced, so he walked to the gate, showed his ticket, and got on the plane. 20 minutes after takeoff, the man began to worry. Oakland was north of Los Angeles, but the plane seemed to be heading west, and when he looked out his window, all he could see was ocean. "Is this plane going to Oakland?" he asked the flight attendant. The flight attendant gasped. "No," she said. "We're going to Auckland." "Auckland, New Zealand." Because so many English words sound similar, misunderstandings among English-speaking people are not uncommon. Not all misunderstandings result in highways being closed or passengers flying to the wrong continent. Most misunderstandings are much less serious. Everyday people speaking English ask one another questions like these. "Did you say 70 or 17? Did you say that you can come or that you can't?" Similar sounding words can be especially confusing for people who speak English as a second language. When a Korean woman who lives in the United States arrived at work one morning, her boss asked her, "Did you get a plate?" "No," she answered, wondering what in the world he meant. She worked in an office. Why did the boss ask her about a plate? All day she wondered about her boss's strange question, but she was too embarrassed to ask him about it. At 5 o'clock, when she was getting ready to go home, her boss said, "Please be on time tomorrow. You were 15 minutes late this morning." "Sorry," she said, "my car wouldn't start," and suddenly she stopped talking and began to smile. Now she understood. Her boss hadn't asked her, "Did you get a plate?" He had asked her, "Did you get up late?" English is not the only language with similar sounding words. Other languages, too, have words that can cause misunderstandings, especially for foreigners. An English-speaking woman who was traveling in Mexico saw a sign in front of a restaurant. The sign said that the special that day was sopa con jamón y cebollas. She knew that was Spanish for soup with ham and onions. That sounded good. As the woman walked to her table, she practiced ordering. She whispered to herself, "Sopa con jamón y cebollas. Sopa con jamón y cebollas." Then she sat down, and a waiter came to take her order. "Sopa con jabón y caballos," she said. "What?" the waiter asked. No wonder the waiter didn't understand. The woman had just ordered a very unusual lunch. Soup with soap and horses. Auckland and Oakland. A plate and up late, hamon and habon. When similar sounding words cause a misunderstanding, probably the best thing to do is just laugh and learn from the mistake. Of course, sometimes it's hard to laugh. The man who traveled to Auckland instead of Oakland didn't feel like laughing. But even that misunderstanding turned out all right in the end. The airline paid for the man's hotel room and meals in New Zealand and for his flight back to California. Oh, well, the man said later, I always wanted to see New Zealand.